The city was alive that morning, glittering with glass towers and rushing people who believed time was money and compassion was optional. Luxury cars slid over clean roads, and one black sedan stood out, polished like a mirror, carrying a man who believed he had conquered life. He did not notice the woman sitting on the cold pavement near the traffic light, wrapped in torn clothes, her face hidden behind tangled hair. To him, she was just another shadow in a city full of them. But fate has a strange way of stopping even the most powerful men, and this time, it would use the voice of a child to crack open a past buried under years of pride, regret, and pain. Before this story continues, if you believe in kindness, second chances, and the quiet power of love that can change even the hardest hearts, please take a moment to like this video, comment your thoughts, share it with someone who needs hope, and subscribe to Single Dad Diaries. Your support helps stories like this reach hearts that need them. The man in the car was known as Arman Varma, a self-made millionaire whose name carried weight in boardrooms and fear in negotiations. He had built his empire from nothing, or at least that was the story he liked to tell. He had convinced himself that emotions were weaknesses and that survival belonged to those who never looked back. His life now was all schedules, meetings, and carefully calculated moves. The past, especially the painful parts, was something he had locked away in a mental vault and thrown the key into ambition. Sitting beside him in the back seat was his 8-year-old son, Arav, a quiet child with observant eyes and a heart still untouched by the cruelty of the world. Arman barely noticed the signals turning red as his mind replayed numbers and upcoming deals. Outside, the beggar woman shifted slightly, holding a small, empty bowl. Her hands trembled, not just from hunger but from the exhaustion of surviving day after day without being seen. Her face carried the marks of time and hardship, but beneath the dirt and lines was a sadness that ran deeper than poverty. She had once known love, warmth, and dreams. Now, she lived on the mercy of strangers who mostly looked away. As the car slowed near the signal, Arav pressed his face closer to the window. Children see things adults train themselves to ignore. He noticed the woman's posture, the familiar curve of her shoulders, the way she tucked her hair behind her ear in a small, unconscious motion. Something in his chest tightened. His heart began to beat faster, not with fear, but with a strange recognition he could not explain. He asked his father to stop the car, his voice filled with urgency, but Arman dismissed it as childish curiosity, telling himself that stopping would only invite inconvenience. The car rolled forward again, but Arav did not stop looking back. His eyes filled with confusion and disbelief. Memories he did not fully understand, but felt deeply, started forming shapes in his mind. He remembered warmth, a gentle presence from early childhood, a lullaby that faded years ago. His small hands clenched as realization dawned. He leaned forward, his voice breaking through the silence of the car with words that froze Arman's blood. He told his father that the woman they had just passed was his mother. Time seemed to collapse in on itself. Arman felt the world tilt as if the ground beneath his carefully constructed life had cracked open. He turned around sharply, anger and denial rising first, because denial was easier than facing buried truth. He told himself it was impossible. The woman he once loved was gone, lost to choices he believed were necessary. He had convinced himself she had failed him, failed their life, failed their future. Yet his son's certainty shook him in a way no business loss ever could. Arman ordered the driver to stop. The car halted, horns blaring behind them, but he did not care. He stepped out, his expensive shoes touching the dusty road as if crossing into another world. The woman looked up slowly, expecting rejection, bracing herself for indifference. Her eyes met his, and in that moment, years of separation, pain, and silence collided. Recognition flashed across her face, followed by something like shame and then deep, quiet sorrow. This was Mira, the woman he had once promised forever to, the woman he had left behind when life became inconvenient. Mira's story had not begun on the streets. She had once been full of life, laughter, and dreams. She and Arman had started with nothing but hope. When success finally came knocking for him, it came with long hours, ruthless decisions, and a growing emotional distance. She struggled with loneliness, postpartum depression after Arav's birth, and a husband who believed providing money was enough. When she asked for support, he heard complaints. When she showed weakness, he saw failure. Eventually, one argument turned into many, and one night, he walked away, taking their child, leaving her behind with promises he never kept. Life without Arman crushed Mira slowly. Legal battles she could not afford, a system that favored wealth, and her own fragile mental health pushed her into a corner. Jobs slipped through her fingers as she battled depression alone. Family turned away, ashamed and tired. The city swallowed her whole, and step by step, she fell into homelessness, carrying guilt, grief, and the unbearable pain of losing her child. Every day she lived with the ache of not knowing if Arav was safe, loved, or even remembered her. Standing there now, Armand felt something he had not felt in years. Shame. Real, heavy shame. He saw not a beggar, but the consequences of his choices etched onto a human being. Arav stepped out of the car, running toward Mira, hugging her tightly as if trying to make up for years lost. Mira's hands trembled as she held him, tears streaming down her face, tears that carried years of silent prayers and broken hopes. Armand watched them, his heart pounding. The success he had built suddenly felt hollow. His money, power, and influence meant nothing compared to the moment unfolding in front of him. He realized that in chasing a future, he had destroyed a family. The world around them continued moving, indifferent, but for Armand, everything had stopped. From that day, change did not come easily or instantly. Guilt does not vanish with one emotional moment. Armand faced public scrutiny, legal complications, and his own inner demons. But for the first time, he did not run. He arranged medical care for Mira, not as charity, but as responsibility. He listened to her story without interruption, hearing truths that hurt but healed. Arav became the bridge between two broken adults, reminding them daily of what truly mattered. Mira's recovery was slow. Trauma does not disappear because circumstances improve. There were days she doubted herself, days she felt unworthy of motherhood, days the past dragged her back into darkness. But this time, she was not alone. Armand learned humility, learning that real strength meant showing up emotionally, not just financially. He learned to apologize, not with gifts, but with changed behavior. Their family did not become perfect, but it became real. Arav flourished, surrounded by honesty instead of silence. Armand redefined success, choosing presence over profit. Mira found dignity again, not because someone saved her, but because someone finally acknowledged her pain and stood beside her. As years passed, Armand often returned to that traffic light, sometimes alone, sometimes with his son. He watched people rush past beggars, just as he once had, and he understood how easy it was to dehumanize suffering when it made life uncomfortable. He began funding shelters, mental health programs, and family support initiatives, not for recognition, but for redemption. Near the end of this journey, Armand shared their story openly, hoping it would remind others to look twice, to listen once more, to pause before judging. He learned that the people we ignore often carry stories that could change us forever if we dared to see them. If this story touched your heart, if it made you pause, reflect, or feel something deep inside, please like this video, comment your thoughts, share it with someone who needs hope, and subscribe to Single Dad Diaries. Your engagement helps keep stories of compassion alive. Before this video ends, we have one special request for you. Please comment below with this line: I choose kindness over judgment. Let it be a reminder, not just to others, but to yourself, that one moment of compassion can rewrite an entire lifetime.